Okay, so here's a bit of an Audacity tutorial for anyone on my Smash Gambits team or otherwise who would benefit from this. So I have recorded 4 tracks, and spoiler, there's a 5th track. I'll explain what that is in a second, but I've recorded 4 tracks. And so the first editing process we want to do is, you notice how I got a long clip of silence right here? This is so you can remove the background noise. So what I'll go here is to Effect, then Noise Reduction, and then I'll get Noise Profile. Okay? Then I'll double click to select this entire track, and I will go to Effect, and you can repeat Noise Reduction. What this will do is it will just like whatever the last thing you did, if you click here it'll do it again, but just to show you, you repeat Noise Reduction and you hit OK. Okay? And then this will go through and it will take out all the background noise. Now, I haven't adjusted my filter settings so they're not optimal, so there's a large chance that it won't be completely silent. So you can see right here, you can see the volume. So I can't hear anything because I don't have any headphones in, but there's still some sound there. Okay. So you could just select the same thing and do it again. I prefer to select a different patch of silence just because. Usually I record some silence at the end. It looks like my radiator was kind of acting up, so that's not super great. Do we have a great clip of silence? Here, this is okay. So I'll take this. You can see it's still not entirely silent, so we'll go to Effect. You don't want to hit Repeat Noise Reduction, because if you hit this, it'll just repeat the noise removal. Okay, so you have to hit Get Noise Profile. So always need to go to this menu to get the noise profile. After you got the noise profile, then Repeat Noise Reduction will always remove it based on the existing noise profile that it has saved most recently. Okay, so after we do this, that should probably be good to remove 99% of the noise. It depends on your settings, right? You can probably do it in one go. Yeah, so you can see it's mostly gone. Those are a couple clips, which tells me that there's some background noise that's not going to get rid of, that I can't get rid of in the background noise thing, but whatever. Okay. So then what you want to do is you want to go and you want to delete clips. So you may have noticed I have several tracks. I don't think I mentioned why I have several tracks yet. That's just because I recorded several attempts. I think I mentioned that. Because you might have attempts that are good or bad, right? So we can just select some and delete. And that gives me something to
I'll admit, when I first started using the Pro Controller.
Okay. Now you can see here are some clicks, right? So I could just delete to get rid of them, or if I want to keep that silence, what I could do is I could go to Generate Silence, and then just accept whatever the default is, and it will go there. If you want to add some silence, you can go to Generate Silence, and you can adjust the time. Like if you want to add 2 seconds, then you can just type in 2 seconds like this. Bam, it'll generate 2 seconds of silence. Control Z. Okay, so what I do is I go through and I listen to it for things like that. I'm not going to listen to it right now, but I'm going to see if I can identify any features that are important to note. So I have a bad habit of smacking my lips, and here's one. So
Here to improve your...
No, you can't really hear it. I'm sorry my radiator is being loud in the background, but this is not a regular YouTube video, so I'm not going to bother. Okay, it looks like I'm actually pretty good at not having obvious breathing. Let's see, how's this?
To the Pro Controller.
Okay, here.
And
okay, so there's definitely a breath.
My stick is pointed and accidentally do a side B instead of a B reversed up B.
Okay, so right. So you want to look for things that look like this. Ideally, you should listen to it. Yeah, here's another one too. Here, looks like those are breaths. So you can just generate silence, and it's a little tedious to do that every time. So there is one thing you can do, which you can go to Edit, Preferences, then Keyboard, and this will give you some shortcuts. So you can, for example, you can search for silence and see generate menu and silence. So what I've done, here's the generate menu. Oop. So what I've done is I've come here to silence, and I have attached a backslash shortcut because that shortcut is not attached to anything else. So you could make sure you could search here and just make sure. Yeah, so this is the only thing I've attached it to. And so that lets me easily, like right here, I'll just hit backslash enter because I know that, and that's how I can easily get rid of silences without having to go to generate and everything. Okay, so that's the basics of what you want to do. You want to come through here and do that. Get rid of silences, get rid of like any noise smacking, and adjust or remove silence as needed to make things sound natural. Okay, so my wonderful girlfriend has already done that for me for this 5th one. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through and fix some things that need fixing because this is only her first couple times doing this, and I'm going to head and make this video as a reference so that but yeah, this is the common sense. I can text you what to do and you can figure it out, which is to do this track which is in here. Okay, so first thing I want to note, she took the bass is this 4th track because this was my best track in general. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just make sure that I've muted all of these things, and we can solo or it doesn't matter because everything else is muted. Okay,
I'll admit, when I first started using the Pro Controller, I really struggled with missed inputs.
Okay, so do you see how that sounds kind of funny? You maybe can't tell because my radiator's in the background, I'm sorry. But what we're seeing is that this is kind of flat, which means that I'm kind of blowing out the mic. Here, right here, is really flat, okay? That is clipped. So I'll show you what clipping looks like. If we just take some random part portion and we amplify it. So here's a quick note on amplify. Whatever the default amplify is will give you the max amount you can amplify without clipping, okay? So if we look like that, there it is, okay? So instead, if we amplify, actually that might not be true. That's not true, sorry, because I already amplified earlier in this session, so that's not true, my apologies. So you can see, actually you can, we're allowing clipping. Huh. No, it won't let me, sorry, there we go. So maybe it was true. Yeah, that is true. Okay, so if we don't allow clipping, we go higher and it's gonna clip, right? So let's just go up like this, really high, we'll allow clipping. So do you see how like these peaks would go up here, but there's not enough room, so they're clipped, they become flat, okay? So I'm gonna Control Z. That's an exaggerated thing of what's happening right here, and not really right here, but maybe something close to that. Because what's happened is that she has normalized the track, which basically reduces the volume of everything to the similar level. So that's why it's flat, even though it's not actually touching the top of the screen. So this tells me that I need a different clip, basically. So
I'll admit, when I first started using the Pro Controller, I really struggled with missed inputs.
Okay, so I'm just going to take this track that I was looking at a second ago, this one. So I'm going to solo, and then you can hear this one, but not anything else.
I'll admit, when I first started using the Pro Controller, I really struggled with miss.
So I'm going to take just this part and just Control C to copy that. I'm just going to paste it right here. Okay, how does this sound now?
I'll admit.
Oh, this one's still on solo. My bad. Okay.
I'll admit, when I first started using the Pro Controller, I really struggled with missed inputs. I had to concentrate on the mechanics of playing, and
okay, so there, that's good. Right here, there's a little bit of a breath, so I'm gonna select it, silence, bam.
And it distracted me from paying attention to my opponent, obviously leading.
Okay, there's a little peak right here. I'm not sure if I need that.
From paying attention to my opponent.
Yeah, I do. I need that T.
Obviously leading to worse gameplay. All this changed when I figured out an intuitive button setup.
Okay, do I need this?
Button setup.
Yeah, I need it. Okay, so just so you know what I'm doing, because I'm using keyboard shortcuts, I'm hitting that backslash sign to generate silence, and then I'm immediately hitting enter. That's why I chose the backslash sign, because they're right next to each other, so I can just bam backslash enter, because I know that the default will be to change what I turned into silence. Another trick, for example, let's say that I wanted, actually wait, yeah, I'm gonna need to do this because she didn't know about this to do it. So when we get there, I'll do it.
H4 from...
It's right here, okay? So I'm gonna insert my 3-second intro right here. So what I'm gonna do is come here, and then I will generate silence. But instead of the default, what I'm gonna change it is 3 seconds. So this will basically like delete what I have and replace it with 3 seconds of silence, pushing everything back. The reason that I want to do that is because, as I mentioned, I've got a 3-second clip of my intro, which I'm going to stick in here. So just like that, bam, and that's more than 3 seconds. Okay, so maybe you want to just delete it first, then generate silence for 3 seconds. That's a weird bug. I've had this bug before. I'm not sure why it occurs, but every now and then it might be because we're operating at a different hertz, because it's like, okay, yeah, I don't know, I think this is a bug, or if it is not a bug, I'm not sure what's happened. It might have to do with the project rate, but it should all be the same for everything. So I don't know, sometimes you get that bug where you do that and you have more silence than you intended. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to, well, since I know it's double, I'll just add 1.5 seconds of silence. 1.5, yeah. And then, yeah, because I know it's a bug. I'm not sure why that happens, but whatever.
H4 from Smash Gambit, here to...
This is kind of tinny.
H4 from Smash Gambit, here to improve your ultimate experience.
I think she took this from this track, because it's kind of tinny.
I had to concentrate on the mechanics. All this changed. H4 from Smash Gambit, here to improve your ultimate experience.
Is that the same?
Add to...
Is that the same? Yeah, okay, that's the same. It's just a little low because of some normalization stuff, I guess. Okay, well, anyway, moving on.
H4 from Smash Gambit, here to...
Okay, so there's a sound right there.
Here to improve your ultimate experience.
There's a little bitty click right here. So I'm gonna eyeball it because I don't think it matters. Well, normally I would eyeball it because I don't think it matters. But what you can do is you can click here to zoom in. Oop, and then I'll just delete this.
Improve your ultimate experience.
Okay, there you see how we got rid of that click. I hope you can hear it. Once again, I'm sorry for the radiator being loud.
Improve your ultimate experience. There are many reasons to prefer the Pro Controller over the GameCube controller. But first,
Okay, I popped that T a little bit.
Let me list the only 2 reasons why you might want to stick to the GameCube controller. The first
There's a little noise.
The first reason, obviously, is that most longtime Smash players are familiar with it from previous titles. This video will offer a solution to easily transition from the GameCube controller to the Pro controller. That leaves only...
Okay, I think we want to turn this into silence.
That leaves only to the Pro.
And What you can do also is you can shift and then hit the arrow key to more precisely select something for silence.
Controller to the Pro controller. That leaves only one advantage for the GameCube controller. This octagon allows you to easily feel which direction the stick is pointing by rounding your smash inputs to 45-degree increments.
Okay, so here's something right here. Oop. Oop. No. Did I just? No. Right here, I think. Yeah. So I'm just going to generate silence here, and then right at the end here.
The stick is pointing by rounding your smash inputs to 45-degree increments. My biggest problem with the Pro controller right now is that if I'm not sitting up straight, I can lose a sense of where my stick is pointed and accidentally do a side B instead of the B reversed up B.
Okay, so silence here. Silence here.
Instead of the B reversed up B. Please note that I'm going to refer to special moves as B moves, even though that will change on the Pro controller.
And another, you see, I'm really using the waveform tool to visualize. Did I breathe right here?
Special moves as
okay, I can't tell. Because that really helps me.
Even though that will change on the Pro controller.
See.
And I'm not saying that the Pro.
Yeah, it helps me see if there's a breath in there.
And I'm not saying that the Pro controller is definitely better. It offers some small micro improvements.
Let me add just a little bit of silence in here. Like, yeah, that's a good amount.
It offers some small micro improvements.
No, that's going to be
improvements, but I don't want to get my bear out a few frames faster just to SD later in the match. If I can get over the lack of octagonal slots though, I will definitely be switching. The Pro controller.
Okay. I'm going to touch this up here, touch this up here. This, it may seem like a lot of work, but let me tell you that people on the internet really get upset when they can hear you breathing.
The Pro controller offers several advantages. The reason I started using it is precisely because of the lack of octagon on the control stick. If I'm playing late at night, the GameCube controller is loud. Every time I roll the stick around, or flick the C-stick, or quickly shield, the hard plastic clicks against itself. The Pro controller is much smoother, feels gentler, and I'm not disturbing my roommate.
Okay, we'll just take a little bit out right there, and take that out. I'm going to delete this to what did this sound like?
My roommate. The most obvious advantage for the Pro controller lies in the shoulder buttons. For starters,
okay, I'm going to take this, and also this.
For starters, there's 4 of them instead of 3. I didn't think that was an advantage at first, but the more tech we find in this game, the more I want that extra shoulder. I'll explain more about this when I go over the button layout. The GameCube controller.
Okay, and there was a click right there, so I'm just gonna turn that to silence.
The GameCube controller L and R triggers are analog. More annoyingly, the GameCube controller L and R triggers are analog.
Ooh, she missed it. Okay.
The GameCube controller L and R triggers are analog. That means that the GameCube controller L and R triggers.
Yeah, okay. This is what she missed right here. We'll just delete that. And then we can take this more annoyingly.
The GameCube controller L and R triggers are analog. That means that
did I hear another click here?
Are analog. That means that it's possible to make a fraction of a button press. While most buttons are recognized as either on or off, analog.
Okay, so the breath is in here.
off, analog triggers can register as any fraction between 0 and 1, allowing half presses, 3/4 presses, and so forth. In Super Smash Bros. Melee, this was useful because it allowed different shield strengths.
Okay, I'm gonna make this sound a little more natural by deleting some space.
Smash Bros. Melee, this was useful because it allowed different shield strengths. In Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, half presses.
Looks like my mouth did a clicking noise there. So I'll just make that silent.
In Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, half presses don't count. The game reads the fractional input in either rounds to 0 or 1. Since I don't want to leave my fingers always pressing the trigger just a fraction, it takes a large movement to press the trigger from 0 to 1. It takes a large movement to press the trigger from 0 to 1, and that movement might make
this. Okay, I'm gonna just delete that, and hope I didn't have an important sound in there.
Trigger from 0 to 1, and that movement might make me lose a frame. That's not a
I think all of this can be deleted.
May lose a frame. That's not a ton, but the more important aspect is releasing shield. In Smash Ultimate, perfect shields happen if you time the release perfectly, not the startup. Because I need to depend on the spring to release the button, I find some slight difficulties perfect shielding on the GameCube controller. I've heard some top players actually
Okay, we're gonna make this silent.
I've heard some top players actually modify the springs on their GameCube controller to make button presses easier. With the Pro controller, the shoulder buttons are not analog. It's a simple, small motion to press them, and they unpress. Instantly. Especially with its shape, I find it very easy to flick my finger across the shoulder for an easy short hop, but more on that later. Alright, hopefully I've convinced you to give the Pro controllers a try, but it will probably feel weird unless you use the button configuration I give you. That said, I think there is some value in playing on a weird controller because it causes you to...
Okay, that's silence, and I know this has the potential to have some static noise, so I'm just gonna do that now too.
Because it causes you to hyper-focus on your actions, which can be a good exercise. It's obviously not ideal for tournament play though, so here's the layout. You'll see You'll see the most significant change I've made is replacing 2 jump buttons to have 2 attack buttons instead. That's because in the GameCube controller, my muscle memory was to slide from B to A or from Y to A. If I kept 2 jump buttons, I would sometimes get confused about which one was A.
Okay, take this silence, and this silence. I'm going to give a shout out to my girlfriend again for removing my redundancies and making this much easier, because that way I don't have to decide what's the best clip of these 4 tracks, for example.
I would sometimes get confused about which one was A. This way, either button works. Since I, along with most players, use the GameCube Y button to jump and completely neglected the X button, I don't miss it at all.
Okay, let's do this.
Actually, you'll see that since I changed my L and ZL buttons to jump, I actually have 3 jumps now.
This is actually right.
Actually, you'll see that.
Okay, let's see how this sounds.
You'll see that since I changed.
Okay, maybe I can do this.
You'll see that since I changed my.
Nah, that sounds weird. Okay, we keep the actually.
Actually, you'll see that since I changed my L and ZL buttons to jump, I actually have 3 jumps now.
Okay, so I'll remove this one.
the L buttons to jump 3 jumps now.
Nope.
I actually have 3.
Fine, I'll keep them both.
I actually have 3 jumps now. Now, I actually made this video a while ago and never posted, but because of
3 actually and once. Whatever.
But because of patch 2.0.0, I'm redoing it a little bit. Since that patch, I definitely think it's optimal to keep 2 adjacent face buttons to jump. This allows you to do easier short hops by pressing 2 buttons at once. So if I really wanted the optimal controller setup, I'd use this one here. However, instead of working against my muscle memory, I'd rather just practice getting good at short hopping. With my big fat thumbs, it is a little bit difficult to release the X button in time to short hop. With practice though,
there's a little noise from my mouth.
I'm managing. I find that I use a combination of X and LZ depending on what I want to do. I use the LZ button for more consistent short hops because it's very easy to flick my finger across the button. Additionally, I can...
Was there a noise here? I can't really tell. I didn't hear anything, but yeah, there is.
LZ depending on what I want to do. I use the LZ button for more consistent short hops because it's very easy to flick my finger across the button. Additionally, I can
Actually, I may want to keep that middle one.
It's very easy to flick.
Okay, looks like that may have actually gotten moved into noise removal, but
Short hops because it's very easy to flick my finger across the button. Additionally, I can use the C stick for aerials, so none of my fingers have to leave their buttons unless I want an air. I control my direction with the left stick, short hop with the trigger, and aerial with the right stick. You'll notice that I also have the L button for jump. My original intent was so that I could press both left triggers at once to short hop.
okay, I'm going to start going through this a little faster and being less careful because
It's better for me just to flick LZ, so you might want to switch the L button to shield. That's so you can move your shield around.
okay, so yeah, I'm actually going to stop listening and just look at things based on the waveform.
The special move, so you can do some of the cool to your shield. I, however, will keep since there's a possibility I'll all 4 triggers. Since there's a possibility I'll buffer an option out of that move, I'd rather eliminate that possibility and accidentally buffer a jump or air dodge. The only other
There's a click. Yeah, the bad thing about what I'm doing right now is it's kind of hard to identify clicks unless the clicks are really obvious. And sometimes the breath is kind of hard to hear.
Since there's a
okay, that's fine. But my girlfriend already, probably my girlfriend. I keep calling her. She's my fiance. I keep. I'm sure she's removed the worst offenders, so this is kind of being picky. I bet there's something here.
I don't.
Yeah, kind of barely. Okay.
your controller a bit, so I just turn it off. I can't handle tap. And if you want more Smash Ultimate content, be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell.
Okay, great. Go ahead and save this. Okay, so next there are a few things you can do. You can equalize, so you can go here, effect, equalization. Normalize. So that's usually the first thing you should do, but my fiance already did that for me, so I'm not going to do that. Instead, we can do two things. We can go to effect, compressor, and we can not compressor. Sometimes you might want to do compressor. I'm not really sure what it does, but sometimes it makes it sound better. Equalization is what you want. And you have a treble boost and a bass boost. So I'm going to go ahead and do both of those. We'll see how it sounds. We've got some things clipping, so actually I don't want to do that. This might be a little loud in relation to everything else because it hasn't been normalized. So let me just real quick see if I normalize it. It's gonna make probably nothing happen. Yeah, see, because it thinks of these just together. So instead, I'm going to just by hand reduce the volume. Let's say like this. That sounds about right.
I'll admit, when I first started using the Pro Controller, I really struggled with missed inputs. I had to concentrate on the
Okay, great. So now let's try. We will effect, equalization. Let's give it a treble boost. We're still clipping.
First started using the Pro Controller.
Okay, so I won't do that. Let's try if I give a bass boost. Okay, that makes it more full. Probably no clipping.
I'll admit, when I first started using the Pro Controller, I really struggled with missed inputs. I had to concentrate on the mechanics of playing, and it distracted me from paying attention to my opponent, obviously leading to worse gameplay.
Alright, I'm going to say that's good enough. I'm not going to save because you can't undo the bass boost or treble boost unless you reduce by the same amount, and you're probably going to lose some quality there. So you could normalize again if you felt like it. Why not? Just so you guys look what normalization looks like. So you go here to, wait, one more thing. Control Z. I'm going to save this like it is because I'm not going to save after I boost the bass. Just in case I want to undo it if it doesn't sound good later. And then I can normalize. Right? This actually, wait, hold up. So you can normalize to 0 decibel. That's what it is. Okay, well, fine. We'll do that. And then how about I bump up the gain, which you can do right here. Just make it like +5 maybe.
I'll admit, when I first started using the Pro Controller,
that's too loud. You can see right here when it goes in the red, that means it's too loud. Let's try like +3 or +2.
I'll admit,
let's just try +1.
I'll admit, when I first started using the Pro Controller, I really struggled with missed inputs. I had to concentrate on the mechanics of playing, and it distracted me from paying attention.
Alright, that's good enough. So what we can do is we can click here, double click this, and you can go to export audio or export selected audio. And let's go to GameCube to Pro. I'm going to call this Test 3. Alright, so there you go. There's an advanced tutorial on Audacity.